Well, if you truly want to talk about a self-made businessman, Grant epitomizes that. When he first came to Topeka, he worked at the VA hospital, and there was a point in time where he felt like he wanted to make more money. And so he started his own enterprises, and the biggest enterprise was his trash hauling business. He started a trash hauling business from literally nothing, bought a box truck, and then he was off. He created a business which encompasses most of the High Crest area, Prospect Hills and Westboro, most of the grocery stores, Fally's, Medical Arts Building, and so on and so forth. It was just an amazing venture for a man, particularly a black man during that era, to establish that type of a business and have the kind of success that he had. I admire him when I look back on how he as a black man during those times when it was difficult to get money to buy equipment, land, etc., figured out a way to get it done. You pretty much had to have your own capital. He bought just an old box truck and had a door, and every time it would fill up, he would move the door forward until it got full. Then you would go to the dump. Primitive, but it really worked.
I had been hired as a manager at the Midas Muffler Shop, and Grant had been picking up the scrap. I was told that he paid us. He'd pick up the scrap and he'd actually take it and sell it. Then Grant decided that he wasn't going to pay us anymore, but he'd pick the scrap up for nothing. So we did that for another year or two. One day he told me, he said, "You're going to have to start paying me to pick this up." And I thought, well, I don't know about that. I think I'll take care of it myself. And that didn't last too long. And finally, I called Grant up and I told him, I said, "I think you better come back and start picking this stuff." And I started paying him and paid him for a long time. He was a very hard worker. He usually had a helper with him, but sometimes he'd be there without a helper.
We were actually on a lot of those routes, because he was teaching us work ethic. Because he was like, "Look, get on the back of this, let's go and do what we got to do." So, he had properties in the community that we knew of. So those are good things that as a child, you look at that in a positive manner because that's a role model.
I think what made it possible for my Uncle Grant to succeed was his personality. Everybody that met him liked him. He became friends with odd people in those days, business people, the mayor, and so on and so forth. When Grant Cushinberry came a-calling, there weren't too many doors that really closed as far as people saying, "Hey, we want to work with you." And that seems a little contradictory to what I said earlier about people not wanting to lend. It was kind of a push-pull, and he had the skills to navigate.
He came to you with a project. I think most people were very willing to help him because they knew he was trying to do what was best for the community. And, it wasn't always money. Sometimes it might be clothes, sometimes it might be something else. He really has done a lot more for Topeka than I think they realize in our community here. And in particular, working with individuals that were underprivileged, and especially children.
His impact on me and my brother, Marcellus, was just outstanding. Today, I look at him and I say, you know what? This is an individual that gave me a childhood. Not only me and my brother, but all the children in the community. He touched so many people, even outside of our community, the whole city of Topeka.
Wherever there was a need, he felt compelled to try to address that need, whether it was hunger, by establishing God's little acre, raising crops so that people who didn't have it could get it for free. For clothing, he would have a clothing bank. He was involved with the earlier Topeka Thanksgiving dinner with Pauline Johnson and others, and it fulfilled a need.
But that was paramount. That was a huge event. All of us kids, participated in that because that was something that Mr. Cushinberry gave for the community, and we were all a part of that, going back to, like I was saying, about the trash route. In the community, he was a community leader, and he was, a very prominent figure, but he was actually a parent.
I always remember him taking kids to the circus. At that time, it didn't seem like a big deal. For children to have a good time is huge. I could always remember him gathering up all these kids, and like the Pied Piper, going to the circus. He would figure out a way to get tickets. I don't know how he got the tickets. He always had enough tickets to take the kids to the circus. I think a lot of these activities with kids satisfied the kid in him. He got joy out of seeing other kids find their joy. One thing in the African tradition they talk about, when they talk about legacy, they say a man or woman will never die as long as people continue to speak their name. The name of Grant Cushinberry will be spoken forever, long after this award, long after many of us are gone. The name of Grant Cushinberry will still be spoken. More than ever, the Grant Cushinberrys are needed. Somebody who can bridge the divide, if you will. Somebody who knows how to navigate. That's a major thing, and that's something that's greatly missed in him.